Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something from Shenk's Homestead, Kentucky Sour Mash Whiskey. Now this is from Michter's. On the back of the bottle it says here, bottled by Michter's. Not distilled by, not produced by, bottled by. All right, so I paid 160 euros basically for this bottle here with shipping. It originally went to Ireland, then came to Germany, and then it reached my hands. Now, Whiskybase number 187874. The interesting thing is this is a 700 milliliter bottle, extra just for Europe. Yay! Thank you very much, Michters. Now, the sour mash whiskey here is not a bourbon. It's not 51% corn. That means it does not fall under any of the real rules of bourbon. There is no straight on here. No age statement, no bourbon. It's a American whiskey, actually. There is no classification of a sour whiskey. It is Kentucky whiskey. It was made and distilled and matured in Kentucky. Yay. So, but except for that, the 2020 release is what I have here. It really doesn't fit into any real category. So what am I going to compare it to? I'm going to compare it to a Michter's Unblended that also doesn't really fit into any of the categories. Now this is 41.7, this is 56.4. Jason, why don't you compare it to a Michter's Sour Mash? Or why don't you compare it to a Bamberger? Well, Bamberger, I will compare it with the Shenks, and so I don't want to do two comparisons with the same bottles, so I'll be moving up to this in a moment. I also bought this for exactly the same price, amazingly. Also the 2020 release, also 700 milliliters. And so I'm just going to compare the two. The Unblended from Michter's, and the Shenks. Now, personally, when I see a bottle 100 plus euros over here, my first thought, if it's a bourbon, is going to be hyped. It's not worth the money. So some people actually pay the money and then they kind of talk them into loving the whiskey. I'm often the opposite. I buy it to do my video and also to share it with. Don't worry, I don't have to keep this bottle on my shelf all the time. I did a bottle share. It was gone within about an hour and 20 minutes on my different groups. So it's all gone here. A little bit belongs to me, which I'm doing the video with. The rest has been sold off in kind of little tiny samples here, 5 and 10 CLs like this. And so I buy the bottle, I do the video, and actually my expectations are lower. So I have higher expectations on this because I've had it before. I know it's yummy, yummy. And this is kind of like, I don't know. Now, there was one review that I kind of really loved. It's over here on the whiskeywash.com page. It has a summary. It says here, like a cozy blanket on your tongue. I love that statement, like a cozy blanket on your tongue. Not sure if I agree with it, but let's smell first. This is one of the best smelling bourbons I've had, maybe ever. I love this smell. I get a tiny little bit of the cinnamon, a little bit of that, of the clove. I get a lot of the caramel and a little bit of dried apricots. I get caramel, I get vanilla, I get the oak, and I get a tiny little bit of a very ripe pear. Very, very well done. I really, really like that. Promises a sweetness, promises a very, very well-balanced whiskey. That's what I get on the nose. Like this. Very well done. So, this, on the other hand, is not as sweet, not as spicy. There's not as much clove. There's not as much cinnamon. There's not actually as much wood. Makes sense. They used here barrels that were not were not new virgin oak charred containers. So we have here the batch is L20 G1521 and 955 bottles. I have bottle number 67. So we usually get about 200 bottles per batch. So about 4 barrels they used for this. They did dilute it down to, as we mentioned here, our 45.6%, which is a very unusual proof point, to be honest, 45.6. And it's sour mash. Hey, we hopefully all know sour mash. Dr. Crow, he was the one who basically implemented the practice, the technique, the procedure of taking a little bit of the batch before, putting in the new batch. Today we say, hey, we save energy, we save a little bit of product in there, we keep the pH level balanced out a little bit, and we can have continuity more through that. So sour mash is something most distilleries use. Exceptions would be, for example, Peerless, Wilderness Trail, and I'm sure there's a few others that also use the sweet batch process there. Good. On the nose, this would win, but on the palate, cheers. Love the nose. There's a little bit of a green moment, a grassy type of herbal moment going on here that I just don't like a matete. It starts off very nice, but then even the aftertaste is a little bit. Now they say they use a considerable amount or a substantial amount of rye in here. So I actually compared it with the Four Roses here, single barrel. To be honest, I like this a tad better. I also compared this here to the Four Roses Double Oak. Love this. Like this better. I am going to now compare it to the unblended American whiskey, and you want to know what? I like this even a tad bit better. Now you might be screaming, Jason, Jason, that's impossible. This is the much better whiskey. Well, maybe for you it is. Maybe my batch over here, batch 2020 in Europe, is a little bit different. And there's one major reason why I may not like this whiskey, and I'll tell that to you in a second. So, what we have here in the 2020 release, they use some Chinkapin. Chinkapin is Krakos, Mühlenbergi, and some of those barrels were used during maturation. Now, even the 2021 release has some of that, and the wood has been all naturally dried. Very good. Seasoned for over 3 years. 2 years is almost minimum for great barrels in Kentucky. And the Chinkapin had been charred at various char levels. And the aging of some of the whiskey in that has affected this whiskey in a manner that I just don't like. There was a Glenallachie wood cast series, 12-year-old Chinkapin. Did not like that. Teeling had a whiskey with Chinkapin. Did not like that. So I am not a fan of the Chinkapin. So I think they took a fantastic whiskey and actually made it worse through the Chinkapin. Now, there are probably many, many people out there that actually said, hey, I think they took a great whiskey and made it better. All the best to you. Go buy another bottle. It actually is something that is very, very nice. But I personally cannot say that I like that Chinkapin influence. All right. So the 2019 had a little bit of Chinkapin. The 2020 had more Chinkapin. But I just don't think that I will ever love the Chinkapin influence. So the Shenk was first released 2018, and then 19, then 20 and 21. I'm sure there's going to be a 22 edition as well. These are one of those highly sought after unicorn whiskeys. Very few people will be able to get them. I'm sure. Let me go back here. We have. So I can find by Shenk's. I can find the batch, what is it? 1432, 1429. So wait, we'll go for this. 1428, 1429, 1430, 1431, and 1432. All right, so that's it, right? Very good. So we basically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 batches. So a normal batch has about 1,800 barrels, so or bottles, excuse me. So we have half of that. So so let's go for 1, 2, 3, 4. So 10,000 bottles plus another 1,000 in Europe. So about 11,000, between 10 and 11,000 bottles for the world. Sounds like a lot, but we have a lot of people on this planet that can actually buy a bottle of this and have bought a bottle of this and will buy a bottle of this and want to buy a bottle of this and feel left out because they couldn't buy a bottle of this. And so they have created a wonderful market of demand. They've created a shortage market, and therefore the prices are something they can ask for whatever they want, and we would basically be willing to pay for it. Did you read about the new $500 bourbon? And that could be the new standard for bourbons, not for everything, but for the super extra premium luxury bourbons. 500. Ouch! No, thank you. Give me my wild turkey any day of the week for 20 bucks. All right, so this on the nose, I'm going to give this actually a B. I still love that nose. On the taste, it's a C. I like this better. I like the Four Roses better. I like the Woodford Reserve Double Oak better. So average it out, it's a C plus whiskey. Value for money, as I said, $90, $100, and I paid $160 basically for it. D, not worth the money. Is it worth the story? Is it worth the exclusivity? Is it worth the possibility to say, yes, I've tried them? Maybe for the one person or the other. But for most of us, it's going to remain a little bit of a unicorn. And I do wish you happy hunting in the year 2022, that you might also be able to find a Shenk's or a Baumberger one day soon. All the best. See you. And don't forget to share, like, and tell others. Bye-bye.